Okay, get this. What if we could build a tiny, functional replica of your liver in a lab dish? It sounds like something straight out of science fiction, right? Well, it's actually happening right now, and it's about to change medicine as we know it. And believe it or not, it all starts with one huge problem.
You ever wonder why that is? We hear about all these promising new medicines, but so many of them just never make it to the pharmacy. The journey from the lab to you is incredibly long. It's expensive, and honestly, it's just packed with failures. A huge part of that comes down to one really tough question we've been struggling to answer for a long time.
And that question is, will this drug be toxic? Specifically, will it wreck your liver? You see, what's called drug-induced liver injury, or DILI, is one of the biggest reasons that drugs get yanked off the market. Our liver is the master chemical factory of the body, and if a new drug messes with it, the results can be really, really bad.
The thing is, for years, our ways of predicting this toxicity have been, well, kind of a shot in the dark. We've been using these imperfect models that just don't capture how complex the human liver really is. It's been a massive stumbling block. But what if we could completely change the game and build something better?
So, to really appreciate just how big of a deal this is, we first have to understand why our old methods just weren't cutting it. For a long, long time, medical research had this massive blind spot, and it was shaped just like the liver.
Right, so here's the problem in a nutshell. We were using animal models, right? But a mouse liver just isn't the same as a human one. Then, we tried growing cells in a flat petri dish, but that's like trying to understand a skyscraper by looking at a single floor plan. It's just too simple. And even when we got our hands on real human liver cells, they die off in just a day or two. Not great for long-term studies. The bottom line was, we desperately needed a new model. One that was actually human, three-dimensional, could last for a while, and could tell us if a drug was safe or not.
And this is where the story gets really good. This is a true revolution in how we study the human body, and it's all thanks to the incredible field of stem cell science. So, let's meet the hero of our story, the liver organoid.
So what in the world is a liver organoid? Well, simply put, it's a tiny, three-dimensional ball of human liver cells that's grown from stem cells. And here's the coolest part. You don't really build it, you grow it. You give these amazing cells the right environment, and they know exactly what to do. They self-organize into a structure that actually mimics the function of a real human liver, just in miniature. It's incredible.
And the process itself has become surprisingly straightforward. Scientists can take stem cells, sometimes from just a simple skin or blood sample, put them into this special gel that acts like a supportive scaffold, and then they just let nature take its course. The cells multiply, they arrange themselves, and before you know it, you have a functional mini liver that can live and work in the lab for months.
Okay, so what's the first amazing thing you can do with this tech? You can model human diseases with a level of accuracy we've only ever dreamed of. We're talking about putting a specific disease into a dish and watching it unfold.
And this is where it gets really personal. Imagine taking cells from a patient who has a genetic liver disease. Scientists can use those cells to grow a tiny version of that person's liver. It's basically a living avatar of their disease, right there in the lab. It's got their unique genetic code, which means you can study it and test treatments on it without ever having to experiment on the patient themselves.
And we're not just talking about one or two rare conditions here. The applications are exploding. We're seeing huge breakthroughs in understanding genetic disorders, really complex conditions like fatty liver disease, and even things like viral hepatitis and cancer. These organoids are giving us a window into these diseases that we've just never had before.
All right, so that's disease modeling. But let's circle back to that original problem we talked about, making drugs safer for all of us. This is where organoids become what you could call a flight simulator for medicine.
You really can't overstate how big of a problem this is. I mean, this quote says it all. The cost of a drug failing late in the game, or, even worse, being recalled from the market because it's hurting people's livers, is just astronomical, both in money and, more importantly, in human health. This is exactly the problem organoids are now poised to solve.
And that flight simulator analogy, it's perfect. Think about it. You would never let a brand new pilot fly a jumbo jet full of people without them spending hundreds of hours in a simulator, right? They test every possible emergency in a safe place. That's exactly what liver organoids let scientists do for drugs. They can see how a new compound will behave in a human-like liver system before it ever gets near an actual person.
But how do they know these mini livers are the real deal? Well, scientists basically give them a full health checkup. They run a whole battery of tests to make sure they're doing all the things a real liver should.
As you can see, they're measuring things like protein production, how well it metabolizes things, and its detoxification powers, all to make sure it's a faithful, working model. And the results? They are absolutely stunning. A major study in 2021 put these organoids to the test with almost 240 different compounds. The outcome? They correctly flagged the drugs that were toxic to the liver with 88% accuracy. I mean, that is a gigantic leap forward in our ability to predict what's safe and what isn't.
Now, of course, this technology is incredible, but it's not perfect, at least not yet. Like with any scientific revolution, there have been some hurdles to clear, and scientists are hard at work tackling these next frontiers right now.
So one of the first big challenges was the stuff they were growing the organoids in. For a long time, they used this substance called matrigel, which is actually derived from mouse tumors. The problem was it's this goopy, undefined mixture. No two batches were ever exactly the same, which made it really hard to get reliable, repeatable results in experiments.
So the solution was pretty clever. They engineered a better home for the cells. Researchers have developed these brand new synthetic hydrogels. And because they're synthetic, they are chemically defined, which means scientists know exactly what's in them, down to the last molecule. This leads to way more consistent and reliable results.
The next huge problem was just a numbers game: scale. If you want to screen thousands of drugs, or even think about future therapies, you need billions and billions of liver cells, way more than you can grow in a few little dishes. Making enough of these mini-livers was a major roadblock.
And the answer came from bioengineering. Scientists figured out new ways to grow them in these large spinner flasks that gently swirl the organoids around in a nutrient broth. This lets them grow in absolutely massive numbers. We're talking billions of cells in one go, finally bridging that gap from a small lab experiment to something you can use on an industrial scale.
So with these major challenges now being solved, we can really start to dream about the incredible future this technology is unlocking. This is where things get truly exciting. Let's just quickly recap the promise here. First, we're on the cusp of truly personalized medicine. Second, we have a powerful, more ethical alternative that could massively reduce the need for animal testing. And finally, the Holy Grail, the potential to one day use this technology to grow healthy liver tissue for transplantation, maybe even repairing or replacing damaged organs.
So I'll leave you with this final thought. Just imagine a future, not too far from now, where before you're given a potent new medicine, your doctor could take a tiny sample of your skin, grow your own personal mini liver, and test a handful of different drugs on it to find the one that is absolutely the safest and most effective, just for you. That's not science fiction anymore. That's the future these mini livers are building for us right now.